Welcome back to CBS Soap Dish Recap, where we recap everything CBS soaps, both the young and the restless, and the bold and the beautiful. And this is your bold and the beautiful recap for September 26th. And today, look like Brooke is accusing Thomas of making a threat. And she makes a threat of her own regarding using CPS against him. Nikki meet up with the Forresters and Deacon, and she also meet up almost with Sheila Carter. But before we unpack all of this, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel to receive all updates, and don't forget to like and share. So we start off over at the Forrester mansion where Thomas is holding this apple cutting knife, telling Brooke, "I'm serious, Brooke, keep it up." Now, Brooke thinks that sounds like a threat. Yeah, okay, Brooke. Now, Thomas promises that she'll never, ever interfere with his father's life or family ever again. And I'm like, girl, if you don't get up out of there. Now, over at the Cliff House, Taylor and Ridge are in close proximity as she kind of flashes back to this whole kiss in Monaco. I am so tired of seeing that whole fantasy over and over again. I know you guys are too. She says Monte Carlo confuses her. Now, she doesn't want to force anything either way. However, she said if they meant to be together, then they're going to be together. And then Ridge cracked this smile talking about, is that right? And Taylor thinks that he should be opening his eyes and think about what he's fighting for over there with Brooke, because does that really make him happy? Is this what you want for the rest of your life? And Ridge enjoyed being the center of these two women, so he's not trying to make a decision right now, even though he's googly-eyed with Taylor, and then we'll see what he's going to go right over to the house to do with Brooke. So, as we know, this is crossover week between the young and the restless and the bold and the beautiful. So we got Nikki Newman arriving over at Forrester, and she is greeted enthusiastically by Eric, who introduced her to Steffi and Hope, who are also in that same office with them. Now, Eric takes Nikki over to show her the dress that they've designed for summer for her vow renewal. Now, of course, she's gushing over the garment, and Steffi makes apologies for Ridge for not being able to make it. Yeah, because he's dealing with all that other nonsense. Now, Nikki glances at photos of Ridge and, him and his kids, and Steffi, remarks that he dotes on his family. Now, Nikki also asks Steffi about what happened after the shootings. She's wondering if both Steffi and Finn are all right, despite the hell that Sheila Carter put them through. And I think it was her bad decision making, meaning you, Steffi. So let's swing over to Deacon's place. Speaking of Sheila Carter, Sheila is trying to watch her stories. I wonder what story she watching. But he won't stop pacing the floor. He's ranting that the two of them are living there, and he's not sure how much longer it can continue. You signed up for this. You signed up for a dead woman with 9 toes to stay with you. That's on you, Deacon. Now, we're over back at Forrester. Nikki is remarking what an evil and destructive person Sheila Carter was, both in LA and General City. And Eric was like, yeah, was is the operative word. She's dead now. Now, Nikki tells Steffi, that she'll like to meet Finn sometime. Hope piped up about, oh, yeah, he's good with kids. They all adore him. Okay, Hope. Now, Nikki goes on about Sheila giving birth to somebody so wonderful like Finn, and Eric reminds her again, Sheila is gone. So they think. Back over at Deacon's place, he reminds Sheila that one screw up could land them both in prison, and he refers to her insane dream, and Sheila tried to play the nut roll and be dumb. But he tells her, you know damn well what I'm talking about. So then over at the Forrester mansion, Taylor arrives where Thomas gives her a big old hug. And he remarks on her checking up on him too, and then apologizes. Now, Taylor was like, what you talking about? She finally learned that Brooke was there, calling him crazy once again. And that did not sit well with Taylor. And I don't blame her. It's like she shouldn't have been there in the first place. She was over there unannounced, trying to take that boy out the house, and then you provoke this whole argument over a knife that cuts apples. Speaking of Brooke, over at Brooke's place, her and Ridge are kissing. He's supposed to be at a meeting. And then she says, well, I needed that. He's like, me too. She asked about that same meeting with Nikki Newman, and Ridge says, oh, my dad, he's doing that. Don't worry about it. Now, Brooke went on to say that she went to see Thomas, and Ridge was like, oh, boy. He started groaning and moaning about it. Why do you do these things, Brooke? He said. Now, she talking about how she's just so worried about Douglas being in Thomas's care. Girl, stop. So back over at Forrester, Nikki is telling Eric that the dress for summer is absolutely gorgeous and she's going to be a knockout in it. The cut, the neckline is just stunning. Now, Eric did the length and the stitching, and Nikki is teasing him that, oh yeah, the stitching is inspired too. Now, Steffi asks if she's heading back to General City now, and Nikki is like, not quite yet. Yeah, but I got to make one stop first. Now, Deacon is telling Sheila at the apartment that her fantasy about reuniting with Finn and Hayes, it ain't happening. She's a mom, she's a grandmom, and she said no one is going to take that away from her. Now, Deacon was like, you know what? I got to go to work. And then she continued to rant on about being left there to stare at the four walls. You chose to come back from the dead and fake your death. Now you're stuck. Now, as she slams into the bedroom, and then he wonders, how did this become like a real marriage? Like they acting like two married people. And he takes the small package out of his jacket pocket and looked at it thoughtfully because he got to meet up with Nikki. Back over at the Forrester mansion, Thomas is telling his mom that Brooke was confronting him about being a party to Steffi's interference and questioning his ability to parent. Taylor was pissed at this, considering Brooke's parenting track record, and Thomas thinks that knife he was holding kind of set her off a bit. Yeah, it did. But he explained how he was just peeling an apple with that knife, and it triggered her somehow. She was looking for something, and she accused him of being a danger to his own son. And of course, you can tell Taylor was not happy about that. I wouldn't have been either. She shouldn't have been over there in the first place, unannounced. Let your daughter and let Thomas handle this. Now, speaking of Brooke, we over at her place, and she's telling Ridge that she's concerned Douglas won't be safe with Thomas. Of course, Ridge protests, and then she give him this weird look. He asks her, well, what is that look? What do you know? Brooke was like, well, he had a knife around Douglas. That worries me, Ridge. Thomas scares me. You left out something that he was cutting an apple, Brooke? Come on now. Now, we got these two. Back over at Forrester, Steffi and Hope agree it was nice to see Nikki, who has good energy about her. Hope wants to revisit the fact that Steffi hung up on her mom and refused her to talk to Ridge. Now, she's talking about the families have become divided. Steffi wouldn't say that, but Hope recaps that they're trying not to start a custody war, and she's angling for her father to leave Brooke for Taylor. Now, Steffi says, well, that clock is ticking. It's only a matter of time. Brooke is the last person she wants for her father. She tried not to interfere when her mom was away, but now that she's back, well, they're reconnecting. Who wouldn't want their parents back together? She said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that happen, Hope. Now, back over at the Forrester mansion, Thomas complains that Brooke likes to put her own spin on things. She sure does, and paint him in the worst light possible. Now, Taylor protests that Douglas is safe with him. He has done so much work to turn his life around, and he was like, well, not according to Brooke. He was sure to let her know that when he messed up, it was her fault, and he'll protect their family from her, meaning Brooke, at all costs. So over at Il Giardino, Nikki is telling Deacon, let's get it going. Let's make this short and sweet. And Deacon was like, okay. And so he goes to get what he has on Diane Jenkins. Now, Nikki is standing looking around, and Sheila appears in her disguise. Deacon returns, hands Nikki the package, and was like, I hope this helps. And he tells her, you know what, Nick, I respect you, and you look good. On her way out, Nikki spots Sheila looking dead at her, directly at her. And Sheila looks away, Nikki exits, and Sheila shoots a look of surprise over at Deacon. So look like we're over at Taylor's office, and Taylor tells Steffi, you'll never believe what Brooke is saying about your brother. Steffi gasps, oh no, now what? Boy, wait till she hear about the CPS thing. Steffi is going to be pissed. So we're back over at Forrester, and Ridge notices Thomas look really distracted. And Thomas says that I got a lot on my mind. And Ridge guesses it's probably that stuff that Brooke was talking about and asks what happened. Thomas complains that she doesn't believe that he's changed at all and freaked out over him eating an apple with a knife. Ridge says that she mentioned the knife and said that she'll call child services on him if she had to. Thomas gasped, what? And I don't blame him. Then in the design office, Brooke knows Hope wants to believe that Thomas is a better father, but he's not, according to her. I was there. Hope was like, what did you see? And she went on to say how she went over to Eric's to tell Thomas to please bring Douglas home. Hope was like, Mom. Brooke insists that she's worried and Thomas is dangerous. He had a knife. Hope is gawping like, what? Brooke? You didn't tell Hope about the apple. I guess you forgot about that, conveniently. And then she made it sound more scarier by repeating that he had a very sharp knife. Douglas shouldn't be in his care. I'm really worried about that little boy. And I'm like, girl, stop embellishing the truth. He was cutting an apple and you went over there to provoke him? Stop. So we got to stay tuned because she's going to keep talking about this whole scary moment again to other folks. And Ridge is going to get some unwelcome visitors at that Forrester mansion. And we already know who it is and who called them. Okay, so there you have it, your recap for The Bold and the Beautiful for Monday, September 26, 2022. If you haven't already checked out the Young and the Restless recap also for today, it is uploaded to the channel. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.